What if you woke up tomorrow and the grocery stores were empty? No fresh produce, no meat at the deli counter, no bread on the shelves, just bare aisles and a growing line of panicked people who weren't ready. It sounds extreme until you look at history. Hurricanes, ice storms, supply chain collapses, civil unrest, these things don't send a warning, they just arrive. Here's the hard truth. Most households have less than 3 days of food on hand. 3 days. After that, the question isn't what you want to eat, it's whether you have anything to eat at all. But here's what the most prepared families already know. The solution isn't expensive, it doesn't require a bunker, and it's sitting right there on your grocery store shelf for less than $1 a can. Today, we're breaking down the 6 most essential canned foods you need to stockpile before a crisis hits. And we're not just talking about survival, we're talking about staying nutritionally strong, mentally sharp, and keeping your family's spirits up when the world outside feels anything but normal. And stick around, because one item on this list comes with a trick that most people throw straight down the drain without ever realizing what they're wasting. Welcome to Essential Pantry, your guide to building a smarter, stronger home from the inside out. If that sounds like something you need in your life, hit subscribe and let's get into it. Let's start with the foundation of any serious emergency pantry, and that foundation is plant-based, because when fresh food disappears, your body still needs vitamins, minerals, fiber, and energy, and canned vegetables are one of the most underestimated ways to deliver all of that at once. Think about what happens to your body under prolonged stress. Your immune system takes a hit, your digestion slows down or goes haywire, your energy becomes inconsistent. A rotating selection of canned vegetables, mixed varieties with carrots, peas, corn, and green beans, directly addresses all of those vulnerabilities. These vegetables are packed with vitamins A, C, and K, along with potassium and dietary fiber. And because they're already cooked inside the can, you don't even need heat to eat them. If your power is out and your stove is down, you open the can and you eat. That simplicity is worth more than most people realize. Now, within the vegetable category, there's one item that deserves special attention, and that's canned tomatoes. Whole, diced, crushed, or as a paste, canned tomatoes are arguably the single most versatile item in your entire pantry. They don't just add nutrition, they add flavor. They transform a pot of plain rice or a bowl of bland beans into something that actually tastes like a meal. That matters enormously when you're 2 weeks into a crisis and your family is starting to feel the psychological weight of eating the same things every day. Beyond flavor, tomatoes bring serious nutritional firepower. They're loaded with lycopene, a powerful antioxidant that fights inflammation and supports heart health. They're rich in vitamin C, which becomes especially important when fresh meat is scarce, because vitamin C dramatically increases your body's ability to absorb iron from plant-based foods. That's not a minor detail. That's the kind of nutritional synergy that keeps you healthy when your diet is restricted. And while we're on the subject of things that keep your body running smoothly, fiber. It might not sound exciting, but in a crisis scenario, digestive health becomes a genuine concern. Stress disrupts your gut. Processed foods compound that disruption. The fiber in canned vegetables acts as a regulator, keeping your system functioning the way it should even when everything else is thrown off. Don't overlook options like canned spinach or beets either. They add both nutritional depth and variety that your body and your mind will thank you for. Now let's talk about the item in your pantry that quietly punches harder than almost anything else when it comes to protein: canned beans. A single cup of black beans delivers approximately 15 grams of protein. Kidney beans, pinto beans, chickpeas, navy beans, they're all working at that same high level, and they last 3 to 5 years on your shelf, fully cooked, ready to eat straight from the can. When your normal sources of protein, fresh meat, eggs, dairy, become difficult or impossible to access, beans step into that gap with authority. But protein is only part of the story. Beans are also a rich source of complex carbohydrates, which means slow, sustained energy release. In a high-stress, physically demanding situation, that kind of steady fuel is far more valuable than the quick spike and hard crash you get from sugary or highly processed foods. Your body needs reliable energy when you're making difficult decisions, managing physical tasks, and keeping your family calm and focused. Beans provide exactly that. The fiber in beans ties back to everything we just discussed about digestive health. Between the stress of a crisis and a diet heavy on shelf-stable foods, your gut needs support. Beans deliver it consistently. And now, the trick most people throw away. When you open a can of chickpeas or white beans, there's a thick, slightly viscous liquid inside. Most people drain it straight into the sink.
That liquid is called aquafaba, and it's remarkably functional in a resource-limited kitchen. It can substitute for eggs in baking. It can add creaminess and body to soups and stews. When eggs are unavailable and every resource counts, knowing that your canned beans come with a bonus ingredient is the kind of practical knowledge that makes a real difference. As for versatility, beans blend into almost everything. Toss them with canned vegetables for a hearty salad, mash chickpeas into a rough hummus, use black beans as a taco or burrito filling, combine them with rice and broth for a complete balanced meal. Beans are the great equalizer of crisis cooking, stretching whatever else you have and making it more filling, more nutritious, and more satisfying. And then there's canned fruit, which might seem like a luxury in a survival context, but is anything but. Canned peaches, pears, pineapple, and mixed fruit salads bring vitamin C to the table, along with natural sugars that provide quick, accessible energy when your body needs it. During extended hardship, fatigue and illness become constant threats. The immune-boosting properties of vitamin C and the energy from natural fruit sugars are a direct counter to both of those threats. But here's the angle most people miss. The liquid inside the can, whether it's juice or light syrup, is a hydration resource. When clean water is rationed or difficult to access, every source of fluid matters. You can drink that liquid directly, use it to flavor water and make it more palatable, stir it into oatmeal or a grain porridge, or use it to sweeten improvised baked goods that you're making for your kids. And speaking of kids, and really speaking of everyone, morale matters. This is not a soft consideration, it is a hard, practical survival factor. When people are scared, when routines are disrupted, when meals feel like punishment rather than comfort, morale collapses. And when morale collapses, decision-making suffers, conflict increases, and resilience erodes. The taste of canned peaches in a bowl of warm oatmeal, or a small fruit salad served alongside a simple dinner, these things remind people that life still has small pleasures, that normal will come back, that someone thought ahead and took care of them. Never underestimate what that does for a family under pressure. Once your plant-based foundation is in place, the next layer of your pantry is protein, specifically the denser, more complete proteins that come from meat and fish. These are the foods that will sustain your body's most demanding functions during a crisis: tissue repair, muscle maintenance, immune response, and cognitive performance. Let's start with canned meat. Chicken, beef, pork, turkey, properly stored, these last 3 to 5 years or more. They're fully pre-cooked, which means they're safe to eat cold, straight from the can. No heating required, no cooking setup needed. That convenience is significant in a scenario where fuel, fire, or electricity may be limited. What makes canned meat particularly valuable is the quality of its protein. Unlike plant proteins, which need to be combined strategically to deliver all essential amino acids, animal proteins are complete. They contain every amino acid your body needs to build and repair tissue. In a crisis, your body is under physical stress. Injuries are more likely, illness risk is elevated, your immune system is working hard. Complete protein is what keeps those systems functioning. It's not a luxury, it's infrastructure. Beyond protein, canned meats are a meaningful source of iron, zinc, and B vitamins. These micronutrients directly support energy metabolism and cognitive function, two things that are absolutely critical when you're navigating a crisis and making decisions that affect your family's safety. Iron carries oxygen through your blood. Zinc supports your immune response. B vitamins drive the cellular processes that keep your brain and body operating efficiently. A can of chicken or beef isn't just a meal, it's a delivery system for the nutrients that keep you sharp and capable. And there's a morale dimension here that's worth naming directly. Even a modest amount of canned beef, chicken, or pulled pork added to a bowl of rice or beans transforms the experience of eating in a way that's disproportionate to the effort. It makes the meal feel substantial. It makes it feel like a real dinner rather than a ration. That feeling of being properly fed, of eating something satisfying, has measurable effects on a person's mental state and their ability to cope with prolonged stress. Never dismiss the morale value of a genuinely satisfying meal. Now let's move to canned fish, and this is where the nutritional conversation gets particularly interesting. Salmon, sardines, and mackerel are not just another protein source. They're one of the most concentrated sources of omega-3 fatty acids available in a shelf-stable format. Omega-3s do something that most other nutrients in your pantry cannot. They actively work to reduce inflammation throughout the body, support brain function, and help regulate mood. During a prolonged crisis with chronic stress, disrupted sleep, fear, and uncertainty, the neurological and emotional support that omega-3s provide is genuinely significant. This isn't wellness marketing language, it's biochemistry, and it's
Canned salmon specifically brings two additional benefits that become critical in a long-term scenario. First, it's one of the best natural sources of vitamin D available in a non-perishable form. Vitamin D is essential for immune health and bone density, and it becomes especially hard to obtain naturally during winter months or in situations where people are sheltering indoors for extended periods. Second, and this is something most people overlook, canned salmon with bones is a significant source of calcium. When dairy is unavailable or rationed, calcium becomes a genuine nutritional gap, particularly for children and older adults. Eating those soft, fully edible bones closes that gap. Don't pick them out, eat them. From a practical standpoint, canned fish is as ready to eat as anything in your pantry. You can flake it into a salad, stir it into a soup or stew, mix it with beans for a high-protein one-bowl meal, or eat it straight from the can when simplicity is the priority. When you're selecting your stock, look for pop-top lids where possible. In a scenario where you've lost or broken your can opener, a pop-top is the difference between eating and not eating. And from a taste perspective, fish serves a function that neither beans nor land-based meat can fully replicate. It breaks up flavor fatigue. After days or weeks of similar meals, the distinct taste profile of salmon or sardines provides genuine variety, and variety is what keeps people engaged with their food, willing to eat enough, and mentally stimulated rather than simply going through the motions of feeling themselves. When you look at your overall protein strategy, the goal is balance. Canned meat and canned fish address different nutritional needs and provide different flavors and textures. Together, they create a protein layer in your pantry that is comprehensive, varied, and capable of sustaining your family through an extended emergency without nutritional deficiency or culinary burnout. We've built the plant-based foundation. We've layered in the proteins. Now we come to what might be the most underestimated category in emergency preparedness, the comfort layer. The foods and liquids that take everything else in your pantry and make it feel like actual cooking, like real food, like home. Let's begin with canned dairy. Evaporated milk is one of the most quietly powerful items you can have in an emergency pantry. The water content has been reduced by about 60%, which is what gives it that thicker, creamier texture and that slightly caramelized flavor. It's shelf-stable for years, and it is extraordinarily versatile. Stir it into soups and stews to add richness. Pour it into your coffee or tea for a genuine sense of comfort and normalcy. Use it as a base for improvised rice pudding with canned fruit. Add it to a sauce with canned tomatoes and pasta for something that feels indulgent rather than rationed. Evaporated milk turns ordinary ingredients into satisfying meals, and that transformation costs almost nothing. Sweetened condensed milk operates differently. It's thick, intensely sweet, and best thought of as a morale tool. A small amount stirred into a hot drink creates something genuinely enjoyable. It can be used to make simple no-bake fudge or cookies that give children and adults a meaningful treat during a difficult time. These moments of sweetness and pleasure might sound trivial in the context of survival, but they are psychologically stabilizing in ways that are hard to overstate. When people feel like they're completely deprived of pleasure and comfort, their ability to maintain hope and resilience degrades. Small treats are not a waste of resources. They are an investment in the mental health of your household. Canned or jarred cheese spreads round out the dairy category with a different kind of contribution. Processed cheese sauce might not be what you'd choose on a normal Tuesday, but in a crisis kitchen, it is transformative. Poured over rice, stirred into beans, mixed through pasta, it turns the most basic ingredients into something warm, comforting, and deeply satisfying. Cheese spreads are calorie-dense, flavorful, and they carry the kind of rich, savory satisfaction that make people feel genuinely fed rather than merely sustained. Across all three dairy options, the nutritional contribution is consistent: protein, calcium, vitamin D, and meaningful calories at a time when calorie density matters. But the real power of canned dairy is its ability to make other foods taste better and feel more nourishing. In a long emergency, that is an enormous asset. Now, let's talk about the item in your pantry that does more quiet, consistent work than almost anything else on this list: canned broth. Chicken broth, beef broth, vegetable stock, these are the backbone of crisis cooking in ways that people rarely appreciate until they need them. At the most basic level, broth is a flavor delivery system. It turns a pot of rice into something aromatic and satisfying. It gives dried beans depth and richness. It transforms canned vegetables and protein into a genuine, comforting stew rather than a collection of ingredients thrown together out of necessity. But broth goes beyond flavor. It is a hydration and electrolyte.
In a crisis where clean water may be limited or where illness has compromised someone's ability to eat solid food, warm broth does double duty. It hydrates and it nourishes simultaneously. When someone in your household is sick, stressed, or struggling to eat, a warm cup of broth can be the most effective and comforting thing you can offer them. There's a reason chicken soup has been a healing food across virtually every culture in human history. It works. From a planning perspective, aim for at least 1 can of broth per person per day during a sustained emergency. That ensures you have enough to use as a cooking base and as a standalone hydration source. Prioritize low-sodium varieties wherever possible, not just for health reasons, but for practical control. When your seasoning options are limited, starting with a lower sodium base gives you more flexibility. And as with all your canned goods, inspect cans for dents, bulging, rust, or leaks before use. A compromised can is not a minor inconvenience. It's a health risk you cannot afford in a situation where medical care may not be accessible. Which brings us to the larger picture, because having the right foods is only meaningful if you have them when you actually need them. The single most important habit you can build around your emergency pantry is rotation. The principle is simple: use what you store and replace what you use. This is not a one-time purchase that sits in a closet for 20 years. Your pantry should be a living, cycling system where the oldest cans are used first and fresh stock is continuously added. When you're at the grocery store and canned beans are on sale, you buy extra and you put the new cans at the back of the shelf, moving the older ones to the front. That cycle keeps your food fresh, prevents waste, and ensures that when you actually need your pantry, every single item in it is at peak quality and well within its shelf life. Storage conditions matter enormously here. Cool, dark, and dry is the standard, and it's the standard for a reason. Heat accelerates the degradation of both the food and the can itself. Light degrades nutritional content over time. Moisture creates the conditions for rust and seal failure. A basement, a lower kitchen cabinet, or an interior closet away from appliances that generate heat are all solid options. What you want to avoid is a garage that gets hot in summer, a shelf next to the oven, or any area with significant humidity. These conditions don't ruin your food overnight, but over months and years, they dramatically shorten the effective life of your stockpile. From a budgeting standpoint, building an emergency pantry does not require a significant upfront investment. The most valuable items on this list, beans, canned tomatoes, vegetables, broth, are among the least expensive foods at any grocery store. The strategy is gradual accumulation. Add a few extra cans each time you shop. Take advantage of sales. Prioritize the highest impact items first and fill in the rest over time. Within a few months of consistent, modest effort, you can have a 2 to 3 month supply that would genuinely protect your family in a serious emergency. And finally, don't wait for a crisis to learn how to cook with this food. Open a can of beans and make a meal tonight. Try a recipe built entirely from pantry staples. Learn how evaporated milk transforms a sauce. Practice making a one-pot meal with broth, canned vegetables, and whatever protein you have. Familiarity with your ingredients means faster, more confident cooking when the pressure is on. It means fewer mistakes, less wasted food, and meals that your family actually wants to eat, even in the worst circumstances. Because that's ultimately what this is about. Not just survival, not just enduring, but maintaining dignity, health, and a sense of normalcy for the people you care about, even when the world outside is anything but normal. Your pantry is one of the most powerful investments you can make in your family's resilience. Stock it smartly, rotate it consistently, and prepare not just to survive the next crisis, but to come through it well. If this video helped you think differently about your preparedness, give it a like and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to Essential Pantry for more practical guides to building a stronger home.